Barnes gives a small knife to Paxton and decides magic underwear as their code word. When she says the code word, Paxton must attack Mr. Reed. While the girls are discussing their escape plan, a woman walks into the light. She's barefoot, wearing an old gown, and her face is covered in a veil. She brings a lantern, a blueberry pie, and puts them on the table. The girls get scared of the woman's creepy presence and start looking for Mr. Reed. Suddenly, they hear Mr. Reed's voice coming through a pipe. He calls the woman a messenger sent by God, and she's going to show them a miracle. Hearing this, the woman removes her veil and starts eating the poison pie with her hands. However, her skin is covered in bruises and her movements are unnatural, like she has been starving for weeks. After a while, the woman collapses on the table. Mr. Reed asks the girls to go check her pulse and breath. Both have stopped. The woman is dead. This basement scene is absolute madness and caught me completely off guard after a long intro of psychological and religious banter. But let's back up here and break down what led up to what for me was the best scene in Heretic. And if you want to stay up to date with all of our weekly scene breakdowns, please follow the channel. This is Mr. Reed, a man who can bring the dead back to life. From the head-scratching horror movie Heretic, as the name implies, the movie is about contradicting opinions, and while some people can debate safely, Mr. Reed's beliefs are a threat for everyone around him. Before we get started, let me warn you, there are going to be some spoilers in this video. Heretic is a 2024 psychological horror film directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, the creative minds behind A Quiet Place. The film stars Hugh Grant in a chilling departure from his usual roles, portraying Mr. Reed, a seemingly hospitable man with a sinister agenda. Joining him are Sophie Thatcher as Sister Barnes and Chloe East as Sister Paxton, two young Mormon missionaries who unknowingly become a part of Mr. Reed's disturbing world. The story begins innocently enough with Barnes and Paxton visiting Reed's home after he expresses interest in their church's teachings. However, the atmosphere quickly shifts as Reed's behavior becomes increasingly creepy. What starts as a harmless discussion turns into an uncomfortable meeting that completely shakes the girls' religious beliefs. Then, an unexpected moment occurs in Reed's basement that challenges everything the girls learned so far about their religion. The two girls, Paxton and Barnes, are missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, commonly known as Mormons, and they're visiting addresses of people who have signed up to hear more about their religion. It's important to note that Sister Paxton is portraying a naive believer who's still not really sure about her religious choices, while Barnes is slightly more confident. The girls eventually reach their next house, which belongs to Mr. Reed. The girls don't usually enter the house without a woman present, but Mr. Reed says his wife is inside baking a pie and the aroma is noticeable. Therefore, the girls agree to step inside without realizing it's going to be their biggest mistake. They sit down and Mr. Reed goes to bring out some of his wife's pie, but after a while he returns empty-handed and starts talking about religion and faith. As the movie is mostly based on dialogues, so this conversation forms the core concept. Paxton reveals that she was born in church while Barnes explored different religions. This resonates with Mr. Reed as he's also looking for one true religion. He asks Barnes if she ever saw any sign from her dead father, and she clearly says no. However, Paxton says that she would love to become a butterfly and communicate with her loved ones after death. This statement shows that Paxton's beliefs are weak because her religion doesn't support her goals. Mr. Reed seems to have a wide knowledge of their religion, and his questions keep getting more intense. He talks about polygamy, which makes the girls rather uncomfortable, and they excuse themselves. To stop them from leaving, Reed immediately changes the topic and starts talking about fast food. However, the conversation again shifts towards flaws in common religions, and Mr. Reed's tone has become more sinister. The girls interrupt him to ask about his wife, and Mr. Reed gets up to check. The girls take this chance to wrap things up, but they suddenly notice a blueberry-scented candle. No one is baking a pie, and there might not be a wife either. Moreover, the front door is locked and there's no phone service. Then, the light goes off, so the girls have no other option besides walking through the dark hallway to find Mr. Reed. The girls pretend to have a cell phone call that is asking them to return to the church, but Mr. Reed knows that they're lying. The girls slightly start to panic, but not as bad as in other horror movies, and I respected their composure through this ordeal. The girls ask about the wife again, but Mr. Reed wonders why they still believe there's a wife after all the evidence they've found. He relates this incident to believing in religions regardless of evidence against it. Then, he starts talking about how each religion is just a derivative of another. Mr. Reed believes that people created religions by themselves and none of them is perfect. After completing his speech, he marks the hallway door as belief and disbelief. If the girls still believe in their religion, they should choose the door of belief. Paxton chooses disbelief as she is willing to give up and agree with Mr. Reed. She just wants to get out of this miserable house as soon as possible. However, Barnes, still stronger in faith, still goes to the belief door. It takes them to the basement, and as they look back from where they came, it shows the other door would also have brought them into the basement. Now, the girls are trapped in a dark basement of a stranger's house, and they are forced to see whatever is coming their way. Neither of the girls were ready for this terrifying basement scene, and honestly, neither was I. A woman walks into the light. She's barefoot, wearing an old gown, and her face is still covered in a veil. She brings a lantern and a blueberry pie, but puts them on the table. This change in pace from here on really brings the movie from philosophical to just terrifying. I really enjoyed this woman's presence on screen. Her aesthetic was so calm and gross, it really worked well. Suddenly, they hear Mr. Reed's voice coming through the pipe. He calls the woman a messenger sent by God and tells the girl she's going to show them a miracle. Hearing this, the woman removes the veil and starts eating the poison pie with her hands. However, her skin is covered in bruises and her movements are unnatural, like she has been starving for weeks. After a while, the woman collapses on the table and Mr. Reed asks the girls to check her pulse and her breath. Both have stopped. The woman is dead. But before Mr. Reed can explain what's happened, someone rings the doorbell. It's a church worker looking for the girls, and Mr. Reed must go answer the door, which gives the girls a chance to escape or call for help. To grab attention, the girls try and start a fire using a matchbox, but before they can, the church worker leaves. Their last hope is gone, and they are fully doomed. However, Mr. Reed calls them lucky as they're going to witness a miracle. The woman who just died of poisoning stands up all of a sudden and explains what she saw after death. There were no angels or heaven as explained by most of the religions. None of that is real. As the woman finishes her statement, Mr. Reed takes her away. This scene serves as the backbone of the movie. By this time, Mr. Reed was just trying to question all religions verbally, but the incident changed everything. Barnes, who was confident with her beliefs, also started feeling confused and unsure. Everything happened in front of her eyes. She checked the pulse and made sure the woman was actually dead. Then, all of a sudden, the woman rose back to life? This shakes whatever the girls learned so far about their religion. Now, everything is in Mr. Reed's hands and the girls are obligated to believe whatever he says. Moreover, the scene was delivered so perfectly that the audience could feel being trapped in the basement along with the girls. They also witnessed the miracle and started to question themselves. This connection between the characters and the audience makes this scene so special. It turns the tables perfectly and makes the audience hang on the edge of their seats. After the basement scene, the movie progresses rapidly with one after another dramatic moment. Barnes still tries to protect her beliefs by recalling her own near-death experience. She believes what we see is just an illusion created by our brains. In fact, Barnes isn't sure about the miracle, she just wants to distract Mr. Reed so Paxton can attack him. Unfortunately, before Barnes says the code word, she gets killed by Mr. Reed. He stays calm and asks Paxton to wait for Barnes to wake up like the messenger, but that doesn't happen. Seeing this, Mr. Reed pulls a chip out from Barnes' hand to prove that she is not a real human. Afterwards, he starts explaining how this whole world is just a simulation. Luckily, Paxton is not as dumb as she seems. She immediately recognized that Barnes' chip is just a medical device and the messenger's dead body was replaced by another woman. So no miracle happened and Mr. Reed is absolutely just a fraud. However, Mr. Reed doesn't give up so easily and asks Paxton to check the secret chamber in the basement. It will lead her to the one true religion. As Paxton enters the chamber, Mr. Reed locks her in and she is trapped with the dead body of the messenger. Mr. Reed performed the resurrection trick using this chamber. The chamber leads Paxton to a tunnel with different rooms full of religious paintings and books. The last room unlocks with Paxton's bike key and reveals the biggest secret of Mr. Reed. He's keeping several women locked in cages and they seem to be missionaries who fell into this same trap. This scene is equally as shocking and I'd give it a runner-up for my favorite of the movie. Mr. Reed also enters the room to hear Paxton's thoughts on this. She's analyzed everything. From Barnes' death to Paxton's survival, Mr. Reed has planned everything. He was controlling their life because he believes control is the only one true religion. However, he missed one thing. Paxton is hiding a knife. She uses it to attack Mr. Reed and run away, but eventually catches her and stabs the poor girl. They both are bleeding to death and Mr. Reed requests Paxton to pray for them. He never believed in religions, but somehow praying is comforting to him. He starts sobbing like a kid, but then all of a sudden he tries to kill her again. Before he can, someone hits him in the back. It's Barnes. With the last bit of her life, she chooses to save Paxton. So, did Mr. Reed tell the truth, or did Barnes actually come back to life? Afterwards, Paxton escapes the house and kneels down on the ground. For a moment, she sees a butterfly, but the next moment it disappears. Barnes did come back to save her friend like a miracle, and Paxton escapes the house. The butterfly on her hand is dead Barnes visiting her like Paxton wishes to do so after death. If we talk about Mr. Reed, he might have survived considering his wounds weren't fatal. He may recover soon and find more victims like Barnes and Paxton, and maybe we will get to see a cheap sequel. So, what's the actual message of the movie? Is it named Heretic after Mr. Reed, who is obsessed with finding roots and flaws of every religion? However, no religion is based completely on facts and figures. In the end, you have to keep faith and choose the path where your heart feels at peace. So, what's your take on Heretic? Did that basement scene get under your skin too? And what do you think the ending really meant? Let's chat about it down in the comments.